Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today. We're very excited to connect with you here in this space.
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. All right, so I'm very excited to begin this conversation today. I'd like to invite the team to share the presentation where we'll welcome each of you to the session as well as give a short program preview. For those in our audience today, we would welcome you to share your questions at any time in the chat. At the end, we're going to have about 10 minutes where we have a chance to share your questions that you'd like to ask, either about what has been shared by our young professionals or any questions in general about how to connect better with the next generation of leaders. So my name is Samantha Marion. I'm the Director of Global Partnerships here at AIM, and I'm excited to introduce you to the AIM programs and the different things that we do at our institution to prepare leaders. So on my side, I'm very excited to connect with young leaders and experts within the industry to help them to be better at communicating and building trust and making human connection a priority in the work that they're doing. So our core program at AIM is our BBA, our Bachelor of Business Administration program. And this experience takes our students throughout the entirety of their journey, starting with first practical arts. So this program is 18 weeks. We'll be diving into 14 different subjects. And in the practical arts section, you can see the different courses that students will go through. This gives them a chance in order to understand and build empathy in all areas of the hotel, which will make them well-rounded and stronger leaders as they progress in their journey. After the first semester, they progress to their internship. This is a highlight of the program. And in this experience, they have a chance to go into an operational role in a hotel. This could be front office, food and beverage, or housekeeping, anything that will allow you to connect directly with our guests. And you can see from the pictures, our students enjoying their amazing 6-month experience all around the world. When they return back on campus, they're more professional and they stand taller because they've had that one-on-one experience with guests from all around the world. And then they embark on their business studies. They'll approach things like hospitality marketing, financial accounting, and leadership development. While they have the experience from the hotel, they can then apply it more deeply into their academic semesters that they will go through in semesters 3 and 4. The next internship takes place in semester 5. And in this experience, students can choose to go back to operations and work together with the leaders there for projects, something that they can really make a difference in the hotel. Or they can choose a heart of house opportunity in roles like human resources, marketing, public relations, or sales. The hope is that throughout the 2 internships, students will gain enough experience that they will be able to make a really informed decision upon graduation on where they want to take their career next. When they're completing their final part of the program in the business studies, they'll focus on things like strategic human resources, business strategy, and hospitality, luxury, and value creation. Each of these will give them the well-rounded view that they need in order to be leaders within the industry when they graduate. One really core and exciting part of our program is the Integrated Hospitality Project. This allows students to work together with the industry and prepare something that will be answering a question that the industry has. Through their research and critical thinking, they will develop a proposal and present it to that company at the end of that semester. So one thing we just like to note is about the entry requirements. So those who study with us at AIM should be at least 17.5 years old at the time of entry so that you can be able to do your internship. For education, it's important to have a high school diploma or complete Matium 6. For English level requirements, we would require an IELTS of 5.5 or higher. And if you're not yet at that level, we do have an intensive English program that we'd be happy to welcome you to. This is just a quick look at our tuition fees, which you can also see on our website. If you'd like to stay connected, we're very active across all platforms, and we'd love to continue the conversation with you there. So without further ado, I'd like to invite you to dive into this conversation together with our young professionals and leaders in the industry, where we'll be talking about understanding the next generation and how to work together effectively. So I'd first like to invite Allison Stanworth, our head of student engagement, to introduce herself. Thank you so much, Allison, for joining us today.
Hello, everybody. And on that slide that I can't remember potentially what was written on there. But yes, I work with the students. And for me, regards this subject is preparing students to be ready for employment, understanding where they are, and potentially looking at the gaps that are there from the generations, with the belief that even though I'm 57 years old, and I'm okay to say that, being able to say that I have a responsibility to be able to narrow the gap, rather than expecting students to understand the gap that is between the generations. So being able to do the research, being able to use research to be able to make sure that the gap is lessened, but not the expectation of the student to understand my generation, but for me to find out, reach out to the generation that follows or the generations that follow. I'm really interested to hear, number one, what the students have got to say with regards to where they see themselves going for employment, but also extremely proud of them, the fact that they are looking towards having these conversations with future employers. So hello, everybody.
Thank you so much, Allison. We're so happy to have you here and to share your perspectives. It was great to also chat with you earlier about this topic you mentioned about lessening the gap, and that's the whole focus of the session, is being able to do that through conversation together. So really excited to join you in this conversation. Next, I'd like to invite Soft, one of our students, to introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Soft Kanyara Sithilajanya. I'm from Bangkok, Thailand. At the moment, I'm studying at AIM in BBA program in semester 7. Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us, Soft. Really excited to hear more about your experiences and your perspectives on the questions that we'll ask today.
Yes, lovely to be here.
And next, I'd like to invite Luke to introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Luke Peff. I'm half English, half French, currently doing BBA, and I'm currently in semester 6.
Thank you so much, Luke. It's great to have you here with us, and thank you for joining the conversation. All right, I'd like to now invite Nang to introduce herself. Welcome, Nang.
Good afternoon, everyone. Nang Daisai is my full name, but my nickname is Angela, and I am from Myanmar. I'm currently in BBA semester 3. Very excited to be here.
Thank you so much, Angel. All right, so we have students from different parts of the program, and we'd like to, as the slide just said, we'd like to have a real discussion. So we prepared some questions, but in order to make this as interactive as an experience as we can, again, I'd like to invite our audience to share some questions in the chat, which we'll be happy to answer at the end. So our first question today, I'd like to share with you, Soft. Soft, can you tell me, what does an empowering workplace culture look like to you?
For me, empowering workplace will be the place that I feel heard, values, and they are accepting my ideas and everything. So back to my internship, even though we are just a student, so my first internship, I was only 18, but the workplace is very nice. They are very giving me the opportunity to share ideas to the leader, and they even execute the ideas that I put inside to them throughout like the hotels. So that's why I feel the value that they gave us. Yes.
Thank you so much. It's so great to hear about how your ideas were taken and applied. And this is definitely something that we want to encourage all students to do on their internships, is to be able to share their ideas and ask questions and know that if some things aren't taken on board, it's okay, because we all have things that we're doing and we need to work on these strategically over time. So what do you think, Angel? What does an empowering workplace culture look like to you?
For me, an empowering workplace would be an environment that is built on trust and psychological safety, where we're allowed to express ourselves, where we have ownership, and the most important one is trust, because these days, for me as a Gen Z, we don't like micromanaging. So if there's like trust, then that already is a very empowering environment to be at.
Thank you so much, Angela. I really appreciate it. And I do understand that trust is really important to build. And it's something that definitely goes both ways, both from the young professional and the employer. So great that you highlighted that, such an important point. Luke, what do you think? How about for you? What does an empowering workplace look like in your perspective?
I think for me, an empowering workplace is somewhere where someone who's going on internship or employees are able to be trusted and taking ownership for their work and able to like contribute ideas and make decisions within their responsibilities. So in that sense, not for interns like us who were going on internship to be like put aside on, to look down on, but to really be trusted and to encourage us to put in like collaboration and different values and perspectives to better help the team on getting better work done and getting a better result.
That's fantastic. And I heard the word trust mentioned again, and that you mentioned as well about ownership. So one of the ways that young professionals can build trust in the workplace is through this aspect of taking ownership. And that might be something that's within your direct line of responsibility or something outside of it. This is an area where young professionals can kind of stretch themselves and allow people to know what it is that's important to them and to collaborate on those things in the workplace. So, Allison, I'd love to hear your perspective. How do we help to empower our students to be able to be part of an empowering culture once they either go for internships or graduate?
I think that here at AIM, we do several things within the sort of classroom. I know some of the students that are sitting in my people conflict and negotiation will have been involved in debating, critical thinking, opening their minds up to different perspectives. But with each person having a voice, we have a real strong sense of academic community and community here. And I think if students are coming from this community where the voice is heard and they are trusted to, like last night, run their own event, tidy up after the event, have that sort of autonomy to choose certain things, that they're coming from that environment. If that is shut down to them when they get to employment, it's something that they will feel the weight of. They have a real strong sense of purpose, which I think matches some of the research that we've been looking into of how to lessen the gap between the generations and being able to give them that strong sense of purpose. Just in the Deloitte recent research on this subject, 96% of young people, if they have a strong sense of purpose within the employment, within the workplace, within the even the organization of study, will actually flourish an awful lot more. But they want the sense of purpose. So the trust, the being included, being having that autonomy actually falls. But we encourage that. So I think that we are preparing them for that. If that doesn't happen when they get to employment, that's when the disappointment arrives.
Absolutely. And because we're developing them in such a way, it's important that when they get to their first place of business, whether that be their internship or their full-time career, that, as you said, they need to be able to continue to use their voice. And in the workplace, as for any employers listening, it's important to remember that you have to let those in your care know how they can contribute best, because students at AIM will often share their ideas because they're encouraged to do so. And if you want to guide them in the right way for your culture and organization, you have to explicitly let them know what you're looking for, and they will absolutely be able to support you in that in return. And to point back to the research that you mentioned, Allison, we want everyone to feel that they can flourish in their workplace, both the young professionals and those already as leaders in the industry. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. So I'd like to ask a question now. I'll start with you, Angela. So when you think about your manager or future leaders that you might work with, are there any specific qualities that you look for or value the most in leadership around you?
Yes, the most important one would be empathy
Mm,
and transparency and a mentorship mindset. Someone who
mm,
leads with example, not just tell us what to do. Someone who communicates clearly, lift up the team, and like don't leave the team behind. For example, I've been on one internship, and my managers there, they didn't just tell me how to solve problems. They solved the problems in front of me. They showed me, and they make me feel like I can do it too. So that's the
mm,
kind of manager or employer that I would love to work with.
mm. Yeah, definitely being able to walk the talk is really important, especially in a service-based industry like hospitality. So great point that you raised there. Thank you so much. And Luke, how about for you? So what qualities do you value most in a manager or leader that you work with?
I think for me, it goes back to maybe more general stuff. So like being very approachable,
Mm,
transparent, and supportive. But then once you start your internship and you have your couple months in, for managers to also recognize individual strengths and in that sense provide guidance when needed and to create more opportunities for the team members. So in that sense, they don't just stay in one place and they're able to professionally grow, but also grow on a personal level at the same time.
mm. Yes, this approachability aspect that you spoke to, it's something that we can build over time. So, saying things like my door is always open, or you can come and ask me anytime you have questions, is a really key thing that new people, no matter what generation they are, need to hear when they're starting in a new organization. Thanks so much, Luke. And Soft, how about you? What do you value most in the leaders and the managers that you work with?
I would say that I agree with both. So empathy is very important and also
Mm,
approachable. I would say that through my journey that I've been in hospitality industry, approachable is a thing that I saw in leadership in hospitality, top to down, from GM, general manager to director of every department. They're always welcome in every level of staff, also in training as well. So I see that this is a leadership that we are very like value in our industry. That's why I'm
mm.
looking up to them. Yes.
Definitely. And for each of you in your program, you gain a lot of empathy right in the beginning with the practical arts, because the antidote we always use is, flipping over the room in housekeeping takes a lot longer when you're actually the one doing it. And how about you, Allison? What do you think? Beyond that example, how else do we help our students to be the leaders that they want to see in the world, but also to work with leaders of the future?
I think sort of two sides to the coin. There is industry experts teaching them. They're sort of in the classroom and applying the theoretical stuff with regards to how does that work in the workplace. So the
Mm,
preparation for the student, but also for the students, giving them opportunities. So Luke is our vice president on the student committee. Soft was the previous vice president. Angela's head of clubs. So I think that giving them roles,
mm,
being able to say, you're free to fail here. You're free to experience, you're free to work with and experiment with the type of leader that you want to become will then be attracted to the type of leader that they are going to follow. I think mentorship, and it is a real strong things in the reports that are coming through from research, not just from our students, for Gen Zs and millennials right across the world, of being able to have that real key person to mentor, to be there on the job
mm,
with them, working with them, and being open. And I think if leaders are able to say that they make mistakes, please do, because there's this level of I've got to get perfect, and we don't teach perfection, we teach learning. And we teach that being uncomfortable is a learning curve. Being able to make mistakes is also a learning, valued learning method. So I think that, for all of that, that is instilled in some of the students. So both sides, we have to model it, but we also have to be open when we're not and when we get it wrong, and give the students opportunities. I think that we think that young people have a certain potential and we cut them off, when actually it's a release of the potential that they've got and being able to trust that they can take on some of those roles.
Definitely. And, as you highlighted, all the students here are holding leadership positions within AIM, and contributing in their own unique way, and especially this link with theory and practice. So if we are able to embrace the fact that failure will happen on our road to being a more innovative or open organization, that is something that we can encourage everybody to adopt. And yes, it's not just about looking perfect at the top, but it's about showcasing throughout our journey how we navigate challenges, because challenges are going to be there in any industry. And that's just part of the process. All right, Luke, my next question is for you. So what actions would make you feel supported by a leader?
For me, I think support definitely goes a long way. It's not just shallow stuff. So I think if a leader is able to provide regular feedback, either positive or negative, I think both accumulate to ways you can learn and bounce back from circumstances, and then take time to also understand my goals and where I want to go and what I want to do, maybe based on my internship and what I want to learn, and maybe what I'm not so keen on, but learning that could come in the future. And then with understanding that mentorship can be brought up in small little areas, maybe a couple hours throughout the week, where you have a one-on-one little scenario in order to really put a step into the door to learn what I really enjoy, and then to figure out if I do really enjoy it, then I can always follow through and work on that myself.
This idea of mentorship that both you and Allison mentioned is an important aspect for anyone's development, and to have regular updates throughout the process will help people to change over time depending on what is needed in that moment. A really great point that you bring up, Luke. Thank you so much. And Soft, I'd love to hear from you next. So what actions make you feel supported by a leader?
For me, it will be that sometimes we make mistake. The leader who will make me feel supported will not show it out as like something that I make it as a bad thing, but it will change it into the opportunity for me to learn. So this is what I got from my director that I work with during my internship. When I make mistake in the workplace, which I would say that every one of us will make mistake, even though it's small or big, but it depends on the leader to show us if it's going to be positive. So how can we moving forward prevent this to happen, or how can we make it even better instead of just make us feel down or anything. So for me, it's very important that I feel supported this way.
This is definitely pointing to the power of reflection. We will all go through things in our journey, and we need to, as you said, step back, see what we learned from it, and then go forward more positively going ahead. Fantastic. And how about you, Angela? What makes you feel most supported by a leader?
For me, it would be appreciation and recognition, even if it's really small. Even after I finish like the really simple task, if my manager will come and say, "You're doing such a great job," like you're contributing to our team. So it makes me feel like very supported, and I want to work even more. Like I want to take even more responsibilities. So that's how I feel supported.
Absolutely. When your value and your effort is recognized, we want to do more, because that's the way of things. So thank you. That's absolutely a great point. Allison, what do you think?
I think I'm believing the research, and then hearing, how well and how eloquent the students put it, of being able to have individual. Where we even though we're different generations, we're still human beings on the certain level of actually what motivates one will motivate others, or what won't motivate somebody. And I think it's knowing your employees. What I do think is a little bit different, and that's what we potentially focus on as we make that gap smaller is that when I was in the workplace as a Gen X person, I got an appraisal every year, and that was enough for me. And that was part of the process. It was an appraisal, and it was, right, you're doing really well, or you're doing this, you're doing that. And a lot of it was done on a different time scale. I'm hearing that this generation are needing and wanting the more regular sort of, Luke talked about daily mentorship. Angela's talked about each time that she has a task and she does it well, about being able to be recognized for that. And I think that's a big difference, that if we think that this generation are like us, and that's what they need, and we give them what they need, or we think what they need is that it's a yearly or it's a different time scale. I think that for me is where I've had to really change my own practice around giving feedback regularly. Really good, great job, thanks very much, the appreciation of. And it's got to, in some ways, come off the tongue of the older generations quicker to shorten that gap, because we talk about TikTok. Every 3 minutes we're scrolling and we do something different. So the speed that we have to, ours was a slower speed, and it would come in a different form. So I think it's understanding that each individual is an individual. This generation need it quicker. They need more of it. They need it more regular. They need it on the job whilst they're doing it. And I think that if we respond like that, especially onboarding new employees of this generation, that we have that as a quicker thing, then I think that we shorten that gap.
That's a great point. To be shortening it if it's needed is really important, but letting everyone know what the frequency will be, whether it is this daily, weekly, less often, but to align and to be explicit and clear about what the plan is, will allow everyone to feel that it's very obvious on where we're moving together. Great perspective, Allison. Thank you so much. All right, Soft, I'd like to ask you the next question. So what would make you stay with an organization for more than 2 years?
For me, it will be growth opportunity. So the opportunity for me to grow within the company, even though maybe it might be in the different departments, or I want to explore in different areas, and also a great workplace. Like people who I work with, culture are very important for me as well.
So growth and great workplace, fantastic.
Yes.
And that's definitely a great thing to consider for those that are looking to stay longer term in their organization of choice. How about you, Luke? What do you think?
I think for me, what would make me really happy to stay with an organization would be continuous learning opportunities, positive culture, and meaningful work, touching a bit on what Soph said. But also for me, I think maybe understanding where the property is focusing on going for the next couple of years and what they want to aim. Because I feel like you can grow within yourself, but if you outgrow people and the property and it doesn't align with what you want to do and how you want to grow, and I think that's very important to me also.
Yeah, understanding the why behind something or the long-term vision is going to help everyone to go in the same direction together, or to change directions if needed, as you said, if you outgrow that space. Great point. How about you, Angela? What do you think?
So I totally agree with Soft and Luke. It's the growth. If the company can make me feel like I am bridging the gap between who I am and who I want to be, then I would stay with them. But also, I think the financial aspect is also very important. So if for me to stay a very long time with a company, I would need to be safe first, and then we can continue.
Absolutely. It's important that we make employees feel safe in a whole range of different ways, both in the way that they work or in making mistakes, as we heard about earlier. Thank you so much, Angela, for sharing. Allison, what do you think?
I'm just going to repeat the research. I think that the biggest concern of this generation is the cost of living. So finance is absolutely key to them knowing how they grow, not personally, but also financially. What are the and it's not necessarily necessarily just the salary, it's the housing, it's the other stuff that potentially is the cost of living. So the salary is the amount of money, but for employers to really sort of retain this generation, it's the additional things that give them that safety with regards to, we're going to look after your health, we're going to look after your, you get a housing allowance. And even if that's part of the package that we think of as a salary, that actually it's the ability to focus in on those aspects that say we understand that you will be worried and concerned about where you live, how you live, what health benefits that you have. So I think that, some of those things employers do that's your baseline salary and you have to figure out the rest. I think sometimes if employers put it as a package, that actually reaches this generation a little bit more, because it's all right, okay, well, they're bothered about the whole of me, not just sort of paying me for the job that I'm doing. The other thing that potentially our students didn't talk about was the 66% of this generation are more likely to stay more than 5 years if they build connection of friendship and social connection within the workplace. I think that we believe about this generation that it is so social media based or Instagram based or everything else that we forget that they are still human beings, and the personal connection that they make within the organization and the friendships that are formed within that is more likely to keep them. And I think that's a great thing for the mentorship bit, where you've got that connection, you've got somebody who's there that can actually be alongside somebody and of a similar generation, even just that little bit more in front. So I know that we have our senior students who look after our junior students. I know that Angela's induction was probably taken by Soft and the team that did the induction. So student to student, but employee by employee of that real connection, 66 higher retention.
It's a great proof that being able to create a sustainable and wonderful workplace does have a lot of contributing factors that you just mentioned. And it's an important thing to remember that we can receive mentorship, but we can also be a mentor, as you described, Allison. And that's what we showcase already at AIM. And that's something that should continue as all of our young professionals go out into the workplace. And it's a reminder for anyone, no matter what stage you are at your journey, that it's always an opportunity that we can share and support each other around us for the good of all. So I'm just going to check in. We've got 28 people on the line with us, and I'm so happy that you're here. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, or if you prefer to reflect independently and we share answers that are different or something that matches what you believe, it's a great practice to reflect on your own as well. So we welcome your questions and your reflections in the chat at any time. All right, so my next question is going to be for Angela. So Angela, what would cause you to leave a company sooner than expected?
For me, it's when there's no love and belonging in the work environment, even if the company can provide like the job safety and everything. Well, just like Alison mentioned, friendship is also very important for us. So if we, for example, if we couldn't make any connection, or if it's a toxic work culture, because in hospitality, like people are the main thing. So when the people are, when there's no connection with the people, then I think I would feel empty and I wouldn't stay for very long.
Yeah, which makes sense. If we don't feel welcomed, it's going to be hard to want to continue to be in that space. How about you, Soft? What do you think? What could cause you to leave a workplace earlier than expected?
I would say the misalignment on our vision and mission. So the company to have their own vision and mission, and also for ourselves as well. I believe everyone have their own goals, their end goal and vision on their life. So I think if it's one day that we feel like, okay, we're looking for the next opportunity and we couldn't see ourselves in the company anymore to be there within the time frame that we're looking forward to, that may be the thing that I would consider leaving the company. But then if we do have a very great team, workplace, then it will be even harder for us to think whether we should stay here or moving forward to what we are hoping for in our future. Yes.
And I love that you mentioned again about team. The team is really important to create this feeling of belonging within an organization. Thank you so much, Soft. What do you think, Luke?
For me, I think it would be, again, lack of growth in opportunity. And I think most employees would be willing to stay and contribute when they feel respected and having a good family-oriented team at the hotel. But I also feel like challenges are very important, to wake up and go to work and have challenges that you're aiming to beat or you're aiming to finish by the end of this week, which keeps them motivated and very interested in what they do. I also think is very important.
Definitely. And, for people that are new to the industry or the role, it sometimes can be helpful if managers are identifying what's the highest priority, or if things are piling up, what do we deprioritize? Because we only have two hands and same amount of hours at work as possible. So we sometimes have to trade things if priorities shift over time. So Allison, in your experience or in the research, is there anything that you have seen causes young professionals to leave a company sooner than expected?
I think when purposes are underlined, values are underlined, is a major one. 96% of employees, if they of Gen Z, if they've got the strong sense of purpose, that's what they go to work for. There is a level of what's expected when they're at work, but I think also it's the balance that is really important. I think that I'm from the Gen X where work ethic is drilled in, and you work and you work and you work and you just keep working and you don't stop working. And work-life balance was a new thing that was intervened when people were burning out. It was like, all right, okay, now we've got to have an intervention because we've got a generation of people that are burning out because all they do is work. And I think this generation got a better balance, potentially, because their focus is balance. They want to enjoy their lifestyle. They want to enjoy other things outside of work, that it isn't just about how they are giving and giving and giving. It's also how they restore and recover from the workplace, and they can enjoy. So yes, finances is really important. So if that's not matching, I think that people, often will leave if they don't have the resources to be able to sustain what they're doing and what they find that's important. But that real strong sense of meaning and purpose is the 96% top value of this generation, and also contributing to society. It's important for them to know what they are contributing. Our students do CSR. They do, sort of giving back to the local community. And part of that is really important for them. And I think that they get so much from giving to each other and giving back and paying forward some of the potential resources that they have. Just being able to spend time with the school, the Temple school next door, just playing games with them and, enjoying time with children that will look up to them. This, the generation Alpha that is coming behind this lot, they're already engaging with them with regards to that sort of additional stuff. But that contribution to society, I think, is a really big one. And if you don't have that in your organization, then you lose the motivation. So what are we doing? Not just to make money for an organization, but what are we contributing? And I think that's where the sustainability things come in with regard to how important sustainability is for that generation.
It's a great point. And, so many organizations have great CSR activities in place, but it's a great moment to invite everyone to join. So our founding company, Minor Hotels, actually has a great experience that all team members are welcome to join in early June for a celebration of our founder. And it's in this, we get to give back to the community, and it's become a tradition. The other thing that when you were speaking, Allison, it made me think of is the fact that we have enrichment every Wednesday, and this is the space where students can explore their ideas about what they might like to do in a resting moment or in a collaborative space. So we have clubs on sports and about art and about music. So employers, if you're thinking of a way that you can create more balance within your organization, this could be something that you'd like to introduce, whether it be something that everybody's involved in or just a simple suggestion after work. Hey, do you want to go play some pickleball or something like that? There's endless things that you can do together, because rest and recovery is not just about relaxing and sleeping. It's also about purposeful connection, like you mentioned, Allison. So thank you so much. All right. So we were speaking about, things that are important in life and wanting to stay within an organization. So, Luke, I'd like to ask, beyond salary, what benefits have had the greatest impact on your quality of life?
I think for maybe the hotel be very much looking at flexible working arrangements, so where I can benefit from going into work, but they can also help me out in order to benefit from having some time off and need to go see family and that sort of stuff. And then I think development opportunities, what kind of rise, what the hotel is able to help me with, maybe not just based on hospitality, but outside goals that I have as a lesson. And you mentioned maybe like getting some sports or going into different clubs that the hotel might be able to provide. And then I think also hotel benefits that also happen in the hotel. So I did one of my internship at the Peninsula London, and we had they were able to offer us like a staff gym, which was great. If we wanted to do some resting time throughout our shift, we were able to do this. So they were very lenient and very understanding into, they ask us to work, but they also understand that sometimes we do need a bit of a break and we do need a bit of downtime, which is understandable on both parties, which I think is very important.
Taking a time to rest and to recover and to exercise is going to make people more motivated and connected in their workplace anyway. So taking a rest is important. And thank you so much, Luke, for highlighting that. Soph, what do you think? What benefits would have the greatest impact on your quality of life?
I would say to feel like the company invests into my professional development. So if I'm considering myself that I would want to learn or get to know more in some skills, maybe soft skill or anything, and the company willing to invest in me to be better in that growth that I'm looking forward to, I think this is very important for me to grow with the company as well when they see me as an asset and want to grow with them.
Definitely. And it's great if a company has these opportunities, clearly made available. But if not, it's also something I would encourage you and other young professionals to ask for those opportunities. There are things happening all the time within organizations, large and small, and we need to put ourselves into those spaces to be able to welcome those things when we're ready and able to beyond our usual daily work. What do you think, Angela? For you, what are the benefits that have the greatest impact on your quality of life?
For me, it would be the paid vacation days where I still get paid to go on vacation. And then my mental health, because when I was on my internship, the people and culture, they always make sure everyone is okay. So nowadays, therapy is very expensive. So like when you have the people and culture to support you and like always listen what is happening and offer you solutions, I think that is like a major benefit.
Absolutely. They support you throughout the transitions and change in the workplace. Fantastic. And Allison, how about you? What do you think? Or what does the research say?
Well, the research is that the mentorship, purpose, flexibility, well-being, and development. So well done. I think we checked every box with regards to that. But also, I think that Angela brings up a really important point of accessibility to mental health services. We all go through life becoming unwell physically, but also becoming unwell with regards to our mental health. And I think that the more we talk about that and the more we accept that that is part of the human being condition, that yes, we do get overwhelmed at times. Yes, we do have, grief. We do have all the different emotions. So having an emotionally intelligent, I'm going to ask Luke what that is, an emotionally intelligent employer, with regards to understanding the fluidity of the human being, rather than this sort of you've got to remain constant at this level and you've always got to perform at that level. I think that is an unreasonable, expectation of any generation. And I think that my generation learnt the lesson the hard way. And if we don't shorten that gap, if we don't lessen that gap, and we don't put those services in, we have an on-site counselor that the students can access when and if they need that. And I think that has been a real benefit to a lot of our students for our being proactive with regards to mental health. The enrichment is proactive mental health, even though I get accused of it being mandatory and making people go and enjoy themselves and not just studying for 2 hours per week. But I think that that's the balance bit that we, in different generations, we missed.
We hope that when you finish your program that you'll continue to bring these things into your life. As life gets busier, it's important to maintain these as things go on. And Allison, you mentioned about fluidity and the fact that, we don't always feel 100% every day. So this is a reminder for our audience. You cannot be at peak performance every single day. So please take that off as an expectation. And remember that you are a person who fluctuates and grows throughout your life and experience, and that's absolutely okay. All right, the next question I'm going to ask to Soft. So I'm going to switch the topics more a little bit focused on your development specifically. So are there any skills that you are most interested in developing in the first few years of your work?
I think communication is very important, and it's a skill that lots of people are skipping it, or not really looking to as like, oh, everyone can communicate, but actually effective communication is very important inside a company. It's like a good base of also us talking with the guests or even with the other department. To misalignment communication is something that we miss, overlook lots of the time, and it's created even bigger problems when it's come to work. So I think communication is a very good basic skills that we should focus on and develop. Yes.
Definitely. And for anyone who's listening who thinks, oh, well, Soft, you communicate so well. Everyone starts at the beginning and you can develop your communication skills slowly over time. So great one, Soft. You can use communication in every aspect of working and in all parts of your life. How about you, Angela? What skills are you hoping to develop in the first few years of your career?
For me, it would be the way I networking and emotional intelligence. Yes, because you need emotional intelligence to be able to adapt communication styles. You need to know how to pitch to different people. So I think emotional intelligence.
That's fantastic. And emotional intelligence connects very well with cultural intelligence as well. So to be mindful of other people in various different ways is important. And sometimes we need to ask the person in front of us exactly what is needed to be the most emotionally intelligent that we can be. How about you, Luke? What skill are you developing in the next couple of years?
I think for me, I'm particularly interested in developing leadership as well. And for both of my internships, they've very much been very practical. So I think for me, I'd want to get a deeper understanding into more of an operational side of departments, such as maybe systems and software they use within the properties, and to get a better understanding of how to use these to their full potential, like on online websites and different type of travel purposes that can be used for the guests to benefit their stay.
Definitely. And that's so great to hear that you're considering all these aspects. And that's definitely important in a leadership journey to be aware of the full scope of things we can develop for our guests. How about you, Allison? What do you see in the research about skills that are being developed by the next generation?
Just to narrow that gap, we have a presumption at the older generation that because young people are used to, or they're attached to a device, that actually they are proficient in what Luke actually is asking for his development in, which is programs, software, systems. I know that students who arrive, that although they're real sort of savvy with a phone, that actually the use of Microsoft Office is something that we still have to teach systems, processes, all the other things. When they do practical arts, they have to do the booking in system. Can't remember what it's called, but it's having to learn how to do that and navigate that, and that's part of the learning. I think we wrongfully make presumptions or assumptions that because they have got a device attached to them most of the time, that they are proficient in every area. And I don't think that's the truth. And that's not the truth from research. IT, the use of AI, young people are still wanting to be developed in those areas. And I think that we miss a trick with regards to their development socially. I think that we believe that they can do that because they do all that online, but actually, especially in hospitality, getting people to meet and be connected to human being to human being is actually something that this generation have got to get used to more, because that's the reality of the industry, but also it's not the reality potentially of how they've grown up. So online studying that they've done through COVID, all of those things have actually reduced the human connection. So understanding another human being, being able to communicate with another human being, be able to lead another human being, is all part of the skill set that we still have to develop. We can't presume that they've got it.
Definitely. And when we ask great questions and we listen to the answer when we're mentoring or coaching either new hires, the next generation, or anyone that's within our organization, those are really important things to remember. Thank you so much, Allison. So I'd like to now open the floor for questions. So if anyone listening today has a question, please feel free to share it in the chat. And I'll ask my final question as we let these questions from the audience come in. So Soft, we'll start with you. So how has the AIM BBA program helped shape your views on education, career, and future opportunities?
Okay, so for me, I never know hospitality industry before I joining AIM. So this is where I enter into the hospitality industry. And in my first semester, as Samantha mentioned earlier in the beginning of this webinar, first semester is practical arts. So I get to experience everything that hands-on experience that hotel could possibly give you. So I get to know everything. And I think that our generation, we have lots of questions that, okay, we graduate in our grade 12. What else we're going to do in the future? Are we willing to spend 4 years into something that we like it actually, that we want to work in the future? But at AIM, I get to understand every aspect in the hotel and also in business as well. When I come back in my semester 3 and 4, I also get into introduction of marketing, sales, and everything, that I'm ready to understand now which area that I'm good at and which area that good to know, but maybe I want to focus in something that it is my strength. So AIM actually give me the understanding of myself. Maybe I wouldn't know that I could cook if I don't join AIM. And I wouldn't know that it's something that, I wouldn't like put myself into experience if I chose to study something else, focus on 4 years. So this is what I'm very thankful to be here and what AIM gave me. Yes.
Thank you so much, Soft. We're very happy that you're here as well. Really appreciate it. Angela, what do you think?
For me, I feel like AIM is a bridge to who I am now and what I want to be. But before I joined AIM, I only have one goal, is to make money. And I just want, yeah, I just plan to, okay, I will learn how to make money and I will make money. But after I join AIM, it's more than just money. It's about the human connection. It's like so much more. The more I learn, the more I want to learn. And I feel like it's only been 3 semesters, but I feel like I'm a completely different person. Like now I don't think just about money. I think about the community, the people, the environment, everything. So I feel like I have learned a lot. Like I have become like grown into a different person.
That's fantastic. It's amazing to watch all of you grow and develop into who you truly are. That's really nice. Thank you. And Luke, what do you think?
I think for me, AIM and the program has given me both academic knowledge and very practical industry exposure. I think with the internships that I've been on, it's definitely increased like my confidence level of being able to communicate with guests, dealing with conflicts and problems that guests might be arise on our internships. And it's also been able to broaden my personal skills, also broaden perspectives on future opportunities within the hospitality industry. As going on these internships, you get to experience a lot of new departments that maybe you didn't really think about you would enjoy, and then you go on these internships and you actually discover a lot about yourself, and maybe something you didn't like actually ends up being something you do like, and then you can take that back and reflect on it. And I think AIM has been able to give me very things like this, where I've been able to go on internships, come back and really sit down and be like, I think that was a great lesson, and I want to look into that more for future purposes and perspectives.
Really well said. Thank you so much, Luke. Really appreciate it. And Allison, I know they've all mentioned a lot. Is there anything that you'd like to highlight that we do here at AIM to shape our students' experience in education, career, and their future opportunities?
I believe that the fact that they are all individual and we look at individual students rather than the collective of creating unique paths. So if there's additional needs or if there are different ways of learning, that we are adaptable to the learning process. I think that is part of the uniqueness of AIM, that people feel that they belong. It's not competitive. It's about growing together, and it's a cycle rather than a top down, that we sort of grow and we mold and we develop and we grow other people as they come in. So I think that it's the uniqueness of each individual, and I think that reflects in what the students are requesting. The fact that they all have a voice, even though it's a similar voice, it is a voice that they have, and that they're heard. I think that that's what I celebrate most about AIM.
That's fantastic. It's amazing to co-create this space together with you, the faculty, and our young professionals. Very inspiring. All right, I'm heading on over to the chat. I see some questions there. So we've got 4 questions there, and we welcome more if you are inspired by the conversation. So Soft, I'll ask you the first question. What makes you feel engaged and valued in a team? Maybe you could give us top three words that make you think of when you feel engaged and valued.
First thing will be opportunity for you to share.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and open communication. Yes, when the team is ready to understand, and also what else? Engage in values. I think these two is already cover what made you feel engaged and value in a team.
Definitely. Amazing. Thank you so much. The next question I'm going to share with Luke. So Luke, this question comes from Samir. Do you think working for a company is the best way to achieve financial success, or are there better alternatives available today?
I think working for a company can definitely be great. Gains a lot of first-hand experience and exposure to be able to achieve financial stability. And I think with AIM, if I go back to that, we can do this program and get our certificate. But I think in that sense, it's basically focused on hospitality, of course. But I think with the diploma, it does open doors and branches to a lot more career paths that are able to be financially stable. Like I think maybe if I bring up like freelancing and entrepreneurship, I've had a couple of people in my class have interest towards that while still doing this course, because I feel, and they feel also, that it's not just a course where it's a one-way road. I think the program that we have here is really opening more doors than a lot of people might understand at first. But then once you go into the course, you kind of get an understanding that this is not just about hotels and hospitality, but it also goes broader and further. And I think that's what a lot of people are starting to realize within my class, on how far they can go and how far this uni is able to take them.
That's really nice and absolutely true. I mean, service and a hospitable mindset is something that can be applicable across all industries, and something that we can all take and learn from this in our experience. Thank you so much, Luke. Angela, I will share the next question with you. So this comes in from KM. How do you best manage your work and productivity?
So for me, the most important thing is work-life balance. Nowadays, we as Gen Z, we believe that life is not about chasing the end goal. It's about the journey. We have to enjoy the journey. And one day we have to look back and see that, okay, I enjoy my life. I did good. So to like balance the work and productivity, I also need to like create a safe space for myself where I can relax and unplug completely. Only then will my energy come back and I will be productive again. If like I continue to work, just keep working and working and working, eventually I will burn out and it will take even longer to recover. So I think work-life balance is very important to manage the work and productivity.
Definitely, we got to get ahead of it before we become burned out or tired in our career. Allison, I have a question for you. What are the most successful strategies hospitality organizations have implemented to attract, engage, or retain Gen Z talent in the industry that requires 24/7 operations and limited remote work opportunities?
Super. Thank you for asking that question. And for me, just to point out that when the question was asked to Luke about financial success, he returned with financial stability. And I think that that is a part of the lessening the gap, shortening the gap. What we will see as success, it's about stability. Angela following it up with being able to have that work-life balance. So finance being the top of the list isn't necessarily what it is for the next generation. It might have been for mine. It might be seen as successful because you've got so much of an income. This generation that now are going to come into the workplace is about stability. Am I able to do? So being able to create those flexibilities. So at the moment, we are, as a university, putting together a curriculum of different and the best forms and strategies that we will examine and how those can be. Onboarding, it's a pre-onboarding using platforms, and that seems to be the most successful, using platforms before people even get there, but it's the personal touch. It's the short time in the feedback. It's being able to onboard somebody and grow somebody's confidence with regards to the people they are going to be working with, the connection with a key person in the role. So the part of the onboarding for many, many organizations potentially needs to be looked at. Does it fit the next generation coming in? Is the recruitment process the way that is fits the preferences of the next generation. So I think that yes, there's lots of different strategies and lots of different research that we're actually collating and putting together for specific real sort of curriculum development, if you will, or courses or training programs for employers to really be the most effective in their onboarding of young people.
Fantastic. Looking forward to learning more, to sharing more, and to continuing this conversation. So the next question comes in from Cedric, and it's a two-part one. So I'll ask the first part first. So for all of you, would love to hear yes or no. Would you be receptive to micromanagement, particularly at the beginning of your career when you're learning how the company operates? Yes, no, and why? All right, Soft, I'll ask you first.
Okay.
It's a tough one.
Yes. I'm trying to digest the question. Do you understand it clearly? Okay. Could you skip to someone else first?
Absolutely, no problem. Luke, do you feel inspired by that question?
Yeah, I think I could give it a shot. I think Gen Z is probably would reciprocate closer to guidance and supervision at the beginning to kind of get a feel for it and kind of get put their shoes in it, and to maybe learn new systems and procedures that they might have not have seen before. And because some of these properties do have strict SOPs and a lot of compliance is required, especially if you go into luxury properties, and there's a lot of rules that you might not be so keen on, but you might need to understand and appreciate in order to support the rest of the team that has understood these rules. So I think it's just a level of confidence, and you can build that confidence up. And then I don't think there will be any necessary micromanagement to be placed on you. But I think for the first maybe months, 2 months, I think it'll be very important for the team to keep an eye and maybe do have a micromanagement, especially if they do have high values and the guests they're dealing with are high influential and have a lot of money spending at the hotel. Then they want to make sure these standards are always met and never on a downfall.
Mm. Great point and perspective. Thanks for mentioning that, especially when we're working with an organization that has so many SOPs. There's a certain level of oversight that needs to happen. And it made me think of my experience in learning about situational leadership. So when people are working in a company, they have a certain experience level by task. So we need to support people and hold their hand in the beginning, but as they grow, we can let go of that so that they can perform on their own. The same is true whether you're just entering the industry or whether you're new to a job. Support will be needed in the beginning, and then slowly over time, the gap can widen so that people can act independently and take calculated risk as needed in order to support the organization's full potential growth. All right, so all right, so Angela, as you were listening to what Luke shared, I'm gonna ask you the second part of the question if you have any thoughts. How does this apply, the micromanagement topic, how does this apply in situations where people need to manage new systems or programs, or there's limited room for creativity and strict adherence to SOPs? What's your take on that?
So when it comes to learning and mastering the systems, we wouldn't see it as micromanagement. We would rather see it as guidance and mentor. So when there's a purpose, when there's a goal for the way someone is teaching us, then I think we don't necessarily see it as micromanagement. When we say micromanagement, it's just when there's no purpose of someone like constantly telling you what to do, but there's no purpose. But when there is a purpose, I think we're pretty okay with it.
Excellent. Thank you so much. All right, so this is going to be my last question for this session, and thank you everyone for asking your questions in the chat. So this last question to close us out, if you notice an inefficient process at work, how would you approach your manager to suggest a change? So this is a great one to close with, and actionable items for our leaders listening. Who would like to tackle this one first? If you notice an inefficient process at work, how do you approach your manager to suggest a change? Yes, Soph, go ahead. Thank you so much.
Yes, okay, I can share on this. For me, when I see the inefficient process at work, I will see if the manager notices it or the leader the one who control or should be, leadership on that team. Do they notice these problems? And if they don't, and I'm the one who notices, then I might go and ask maybe one-on-one section and ask them that I noticed this happen. Is there anything that we could, moving forward to fix or work together to do it together? And I will see lots of time that leader will okay, oh, thank you for sharing this to me. Maybe they will be too busy, focus on lots of things that why they oversee this. And then they will looking forward to share this together and fix it with the team. Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Soph. Angela, what do you think?
For me, I would approach them with a form of question. I would just ask them like, oh, is this normal? Is this like the way we do it? So if it's not, then it will be already informing them. So I don't need to tell them directly, this is wrong, this is not right. So I just ask them, is this like usually the way we do it? So I don't have to like tell them directly.
Okay. Thank you so much. And how about you, Luke? What do you think?
For me, I think maybe in order to properly understand the process before making any suggestions, so make sure maybe you can revise it with yourself a couple of times to make sure maybe it's a little error that you've been seeing, but maybe that's just because you haven't understood the whole process yet, which is absolutely fine. And then I think if this is a problem that you've seen occur more than once, I think identify the specific interferences, and if you can maybe try gather some examples of why this is happening, or the results of this happening lead to certain aspects. And then, you know, you can always approach the manager respectfully and professionally, maybe to more focused on solving the problem and not pointing out what the problem is, but lean into, we can do this, or I can talk to the team about helping this way and changing this to better approach the situation.
Definitely. And, you know, change does need to happen sometimes. And it's good to come, if you come with a challenge, to also bring the solution, as you mentioned, Luke. Really important point. Allison, is there anything you'd like to add as we wrap up this conversation, either about this question or overall about this experience with our young leaders?
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. We do the changes by feedback. My challenge to employers is being able to say and ask for the insight of a different and a new fresh pair of eyes. I often get soft for many, many hours coming in and looking at some of our processes, but always comes in with an eye and a concern for the wider community. So for the organization, that's why they would see potentially areas to develop. And that's the way that they look at it. They look at it as development. They're not critical in that. It's very much being guided by people who are in some ways watching your back, because there are new things that we can't always keep up with, that they are very aware of, that they've researched and they've learned and they're in touch with, you know, some of the new practices. So for me, the challenge to employers is, if you're my age, then it's worth sitting and listening to them, because their ideas are creative. They will come with solutions. They will come with great ways of thinking new about things. And it's the way that we develop our systems here, even though we have very, very strict SOPs, if you will. I call them policies in education. But being able to hear the valued opinions around things, because they are coming with eyes of this generation and eyes of the context of the here and now, not the past potentially, if you are not able to close that gap. So being open, employers, listen to them. They've got some great ideas.
Thank you so much, Allison. And I absolutely wholeheartedly agree. They have great ideas, and you've had a chance to meet 3 of our young leaders today, and there's so many more that we'd like to introduce you to. So we have an exciting event coming up. If you're locally based in Bangkok, we have our career fair happening on the 1st of July. So if you're an employer listening, unfortunately, we've already filled up all of our booths for this event, so we wouldn't be able to welcome any new employers, but we would love to see students from other institutions join us. It will be a space where you can directly connect with people from the following companies that you see listed here, to ask questions, to connect, to share your CV, and to get real-time feedback. So this is an experience that we have every semester. And this year it will happen on the 1st of July from 9 to 3 at AIM Bangkok campus on 9th floor. So thank you again to our young leaders. And thank you, Allison, for joining us for this conversation. It's been an absolute pleasure, and wishing you all the most wonderful evening ahead.